Hey, welcome to my front room for functional conditioning yoga with me, Ricky Stewart. And Joey the cat is not wanting to be in it anymore. He was all peaceful until he went on camera. Maybe he's just being shy. Look at him. There he is, look. Ready to pounce. There we go. Cool, so this is functional conditioning yoga. We do yoga with smart mobility, with a bit of strength and a bit of lots of articulation, not a bit, a lot of articulation, which means we move our joints around as much as we can. We spend time in the places where we want to create more space and more mobility, but that flexibility isn't the goal for this class. It's not our main deal. Our main deal is strength and knowledge of how your stuff can work nice. Just get this straighter. Perfect. So, with that in mind, if you think about most types of training, you move around in a linear fashion. So if you do squatting or lunging, you kind of squat and you sit down into your squat and you stand up and everything moves in these straight linear lines. That's all well and good, and it's well established that you can improve your body's strength and mechanics and even a little bit of mobility as well. But in real life movement, it's three-dimensional. It involves twisting and rotating, a lot of twisting and rotating, and a little bit of this linear stuff. And if something's moving in a linear fashion, then a lot of the time in our locomotion and three-dimensional movement, something else is moving rotationally. Like running, for example, you're running like this and the torque of this torso rotating. It's not doing a big exaggeration of this, because that's slow, it's too long, you've moved too much before your foot hits the floor and you want to propel forwards again. But it has this little bit of like tick, tock, like that you're making this little bit of rotation, this pull, so that your hips can push against this, and at the right time you catch tension, and that tension pushes you off the floor faster and faster. And even if you're never going to run again, your running days are done, it doesn't matter, you can still improve, you can still get better at this. And that's what I find exciting, that's what I like, this is how I do it. So, we are still a little bit early, yet let's have a little think about this three-dimensional strength before we sit down and get into some breathing stuff. You do this little practice thing of how I explain this. If you just make a right angle in your elbow, you make it strong. So you're tensing your bicep essentially. And then if you put your hand against the front of your fist and pull your fist towards your face, and you'll feel this bicep turn on more. So your potential gets more because you've got an external force to push against. And then if you keep that same shape and you go the other way, you can make your triceps strong, like this. And then if you grab hold of your wrist and you try and rotate both ways while bicep and tricep and rotation is happening, this elbow becomes the most stable it can be in the shape that you put it in, because it's got tension from pulling, pushing and rotating. All of those things together create this extra little bit of strength and structure. If you can catch that structure in whatever task it is that you're doing, that there's pushing, pulling, rotating, and that's all available. You might not even have to have them all on, but they're available. There are options. I like a lot of options for movement. Then you can catch that little bit of lightning in a bottle of whatever it is that you're doing. And I use that when I do strong stuff like handstand press-ups. So I can bring my face to the floor, come down, and really light. I feel light pushing up and down like that. I can catch balance and I can just keep going. And really what I'm doing is I'm showing efficiency. It's catching that lightning in a bottle of just enough rotation, pushing, pulling. I'm kind of making my biceps look after this elbow so that it's not just the pushing muscles that have got to push my 70 odd kilograms around. It's lightning in a bottle, and I can teach you that stuff, but you need to just put in the work. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot more thinking than it is actual like working out. It's just knowledge. I promise you, we can get this potential, we can raise our potential with smart training, and it can still be yoga, and it can still be kind of nice. Okay, let's start like this. I like starting like this. If you've got a little seat that you can kind of sit on the edge of, And just breathe. Shrug your shoulders up, so your shoulders come right up to your ears and your neck kind of disappears. And then just soften and let your elbows kind of sit close to your pockets. Relax your jaw, relax your tongue, but keep your mouth closed. And this is nasal breathing, and I'll just keep hammering this point home, but I want your diaphragm and this breathing apparatus, everything around here does the work. Your rib cage, all of the intercostal muscles, the muscles in between your rib cage, they are going to do the breathing and not this external pulling air in and then pushing air out of here. So if you breathe super quiet, like silent, just expand, then draw in, expand, draw in. Slowing this breathing right down, so it's super slow, it's easy. Just feel if your shoulders are kind of gripping on a bit. See if you can soften them. You might need to fidget to let them let go. You might need to move your hands and then soften just to see if you've got this. Like everything that you're learning, never perfect. We're always striving for more. As humans, we are on this endless search for better. Just see. You can control your breathing. It comes from here. It comes from this stuff. And then, like always, I like being able to breathe and move. For your breathing apparatus to be able to perform no matter what shape you are in. Your elbow reaches down to your pocket. Let's try that for a cue. Change the cues for the same movements quite often, just to see if something sticks a bit better for someone else. So let's think elbow to pocket, elbow to pocket, elbow to pocket. Breathing. We're not pulling that air in through your face. It's all coming from this stuff here. And then let's stick in one side bend. I want you to cross your arms like this, so your fingertips are just right on top of your shoulders. And then let's just think about this top elbow. My left elbow here is going to rotate to come forwards, so it's almost reaching towards the opposite knee, and then I'm going to go back like it's reaching towards the back wall, and I'm still in this side bend look. My head kind of like hanging over the outside of my hip. That's it. You might feel as you do this that this right foot gets heavier, even though you sat. That right foot might need to push into the floor, and that's good. That kind of helps. Maybe you could push that right foot harder into the floor as you rotate like this. And then come over to the other side. You squeeze this rib cage down towards the side, and then you rotate like this. And breathe. So this right elbow this time comes towards the opposite knee, and away from the opposite knee, towards it, away from it, towards it, away from it. And just see if you can breathe at the same time, showing your body how to rotate in this kind of coiled up torso. Go. Perfect. Then let's do more spine stuff. This stuff here is so important to our locomotion. Can you do cat-cow sat upright? So you know cat-cow where you're on all fours, and you go cat pose like this, and you stretch your back like stretching cat, and then you go into extension, so you kind of flip your rib cage up like this, back down and back up, back down and back up. So see if you can feel your pelvis turning like this. Get hold of that. See if you can maybe lock your top of your spine still while you only do lower back. And that might look like this. So that means your rib cage won't particularly flip up. Your sternum, this breastbone here, will stay kind of still. And then see if you can go into full extension. So your sternum starts pointing up, and you try and flip your rib cage up like this. Then try and pull rib cage back, and then flip it up. And if your back is vulnerable, show that some respect. Feeling of vulnerability is your body's way of telling you but you're vulnerable. So do less. If anything hurts, if you go into full extension, it feels like something's pinching, definitely do less. If you feel like you can push into the ends, push to the ends. And then let's see if we can relate this, because I like this way up because gravity is pointing the way that I spend most of my life upright. This is the way I want to teach my spine to be able to perform. But I can learn a lot from doing cat-cow with hands down on the floor. As you push your chest up and tuck your chin, try and lengthen everything down the back of your t-shirt. Then go for extension, so it goes lower back, into thoracic spine, into cervical spine, into my neck. So look at this shape here, where I'm trying to point my coccyx up, I'm trying to arch my back, and the shoulder blades are still spread. It's not wrong to do it like this, but I prefer this just now for teaching. And then, tuck your chin, keep tucking your chin more until the top of your back then it unravels until you get to lower back, and push it up like this. Then starting from lumbar spine, thoracic spine, neck, and then neck, thoracic, lumbar. I'm just going from one end of my spine to the other. And this will be in every yoga class, every Pilates class that I teach, probably forever. Because the biggest bang for our buck is teaching our spine how to be a spine. And not just in this exercise and this little bit of practice, but in everything that we do. Understanding what your spine is doing when your hips and your legs are doing other stuff as well. Then, take a big step forwards with your right foot. You want to put both hands on top of your knee. We're going to make a little bit of hip extension, so if you can walk this foot forwards, you might want to pop a pillow or a cushion under your knee just to soften that if you want. If you're happy on the floor, you'll be fine. And look for this little stretch here, in this thigh and in this hip flexor. And then just hang out here in this little stretch, and then see if you can change what your lumbar spine does. Can you tilt your pelvis here? And as you tuck your tailbone under, you can imagine like this bit of lower back here starts lengthening out and this contracts, pulls down. You'll probably feel this stretch more here. And then as you come into extension, you find that mobility here. See, you can keep this little stretch. So find it, keep it, and then explore this lower back. So different. And then see if you can tense your bum muscles. So squeeze this bum cheek on, maybe even give it a little poke to see whether you can feel that little bit of tightening. Then cross your arms over your chest and curl over. So you can make thoracic spine flex to extend. And you might even feel this bit of lengthening of the muscles of the belly here. Flex, extend, flex, extend. And then last one. Cool. And swap legs. So look for this little bit of a stretch on the thigh muscles, hip flexors. Pull your hips forwards and see if you can explore moving just lower back, and you'll feel how that makes a little bit of difference to your hip flexors in the front of your thigh. So going extension to flexion, extension to flexion. Maybe hand on top of your knee. Then I want you to do a few more of these and then pause with tailbone tucked under, a little bit of bum muscle tense. Look for this stretch in the thigh. Cross your arms over your chest. Go flexion, extension, flexion, extension. And see if you can keep that bum muscle tensed on this back leg. Last one. Perfect. And then let's have a little look at balance. So some of you will struggle with balance, and you will have to, when you get asked to balance on one foot, you'll wobble and fall over, or you feel like you're constantly trying to fix this, and you're like trying to move around like this to be able to balance, and then eventually your foot hits the floor. It's just equilibrium. You're a game of Jenga. If you take away too many of the pieces, or there's too much weight on one side and not enough weight on the other, it collapses. And that's just what you are. So a balanced head over foot is easy, but you can get balance head on the outside of the foot, which means this becomes my like center point. So this shoulder, maybe this elbow up here, and pulling this elbow back. So see how elbow to elbow? I feel quite strong here. I'm coiled up in my core, which we've already practiced, and I can even rotate like this with this head outside of foot, big toe pulled down, and this knee is just kind of pointing forward. See if you can find this balance and make your shoulders rotate and your head is on the outside of your foot, and maybe even come over the other side. And you just need to create equilibrium. So if I push this foot a little bit like a tree pose, but not quite, because I'm coiled up here, see if you can move your torso like this, and elbows kind of swap places. One elbow forwards, one elbow back, one elbow forwards, one elbow back, but it's this across your collarbone that I want to see be able to change, and you can keep this balance. There we go. Okay, let's try that on the other side. So, head over foot is easy balance. So once your head is right over the top of this foot and you've made a structure with your big toe pressed down, you can even do a little bounce. So you catch balance on every bounce, and that should be able to help you kind of readjust. And let's see if you can bring the top of this shoulder over the top of your foot and go into rotation and move slow and be able to breathe. Move slow and be able to breathe. And the outside edge of my foot, nearly lost it, but I managed to bring it back. The outside edge of my foot, I can feel it being really heavy because I'm starting to pour weight this way. But this is just equilibrium. So you get that, don't you? It's just mechanics. It's a structure that has even weight over the balance point, and I'm showing my body how to distribute weight, and hopefully this will, maybe we can do it like this, look. This will teach me how to do this in locomotion. So if I was playing squash or tennis or anything that involved me having to rotate and move, I could catch that balance and be able to hit the ball, shuttlecock, whatever it is that I'm playing, or running, or even just falling over. So we're still going in this. So you're going head on the inside of your foot and the inside of the balance point. Come on, let's see if you can find this. And hopefully it'll fall apart, because you don't learn when you just do it right. I've got this kind of down, I've been practicing it a bit myself, so I've kind of got the mechanics of this down. But if you don't, and you keep having to touch the floor like this, it's allowed. Everything's allowed. There's no right or wrong. You're just practicing, and see if you can feel this stuff in your torso. See if you can catch this balance with head on the inside of your foot, and you've made this the structure going down this middle line of your body. That's it. To be able to do that well, we need our hips to work well. So let's talk a little bit about hip cars. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of articulation in this. See if you can point your knee towards me in the front of the room and then pull it back as far as it'll go. Feel this bum muscle turn on. If you don't, make it and pull it out to the side. Make the outside of this hip turn on. And then as you pick this knee up, let this foot just hang underneath your knee and see how close you can get your thigh to your rib cage. Then bring it across and back and out, up, across and back. And as soon as we've done these hip cars, just to check in with how this femur can move around in its little ball and socket joint, and we'll get into some more classic yoga moves and yoga poses, and see how all of this stuff becomes relevant once you find these static postures. You need to be able to move in and out of them with knowledge and control. There we go. Let's try it with this leg. So, big toe pushes down, knee points forwards, pull this knee back, out the side, pick it up, across, back. And you're trying to keep your pelvis still here. So think about teaching this hip how to be a hip without relying on your lumbar spine, without relying on your lower back. So maybe you could even hold it with your hands and feel the muscles just do little twitches in your lower back where they're trying to join in, because they are a team. They should be a team. But if one of them's doing all the work between hip and lower back, maybe it's going to burn out. Maybe that load is too much. You need to teach these hips how to do a bit more of their job so the lower back doesn't have to step in. Try to make this just a smooth circle. Look, with my knee, imagine me drawing a big circle. There we go. Okay. And then let's go into warrior two. So if you go kind of wide feet, then you're going to swivel that right foot to point out the ways. This heel is going to point towards your instep, pretty much. I kind of like this back foot a little bit diagonal, so the back heel is just a little bit further away, and then bend this front knee. Grab hold of your pelvis and rotate a little bit, and watch what your knees do. Your knees, this front knee comes across the body a bit. I'm not so keen on that. And then as I come back, that knee comes outside of the foot. I'm not so keen on that. I kind of like just in the middle, but I'm going to pull my pelvis around, so my pelvis is kind of square on, as close as I can get it to the camera here. So I'm kind of pointing these iliac crests, these bones that stick out at the top of my hips, I want them to point forwards like this. And this knee goes outside, and I'm going to feel a little stretch here. Then my lumbar spine, see if I can make a little bit of tension here. It doesn't need to be all on, just needs to be enough to be kind of strong. And then reach my arms out. If I shrug my shoulders up like this, it doesn't look very nice. I'm going to see if I can pull shoulders down, make a straight line from fingertip to fingertip, and then look out over the top of this hand and see if I could maybe be a little bit longer, so I can heel toe this back foot back a little bit and just soften. Maybe this stretch starts happening down the inside of my thigh here, down the groin here. I'm going to pull this knee back again and try and keep my pelvis square. See if I can squeeze bum cheeks together. And then I want you to pull the feet towards each other. Think about those hip calves. I want you to be able to get in and out of these positions. When we lifted our thigh up towards our rib cage, it's close to this, except we've got gravity pushing us down now, so the muscles change. But I'd like you to be able to lift this to this position here, so that you can learn how to get this hip to perform. Okay. And then, let's see if you can swivel all the toes to point to the side of the room, so you can keep your balance. Remember, train tracks will work a little bit better here, so you need your feet wide enough. You might need to heel toe a little bit, so you can feel like you are on train tracks and not on a tightrope. See if you can tense the bum muscle on this back leg for hip extension. See if you can straighten up this back leg and bend this front knee. A big stretch down the thigh and hip flexor here. Can you reach your arms up and reach back, and maybe a little stretch down the muscles of the belly here. Pull your thumbs towards the back of the room. Be able to breathe. Reach arms down, clasp your hands together behind your back and drop your belly onto your thigh, so you're a straight line from head to foot. So look at that back foot and see if you can squeeze shoulder blades together and lift these hands high. See if you can pull feet towards each other still. Very good. And bring fingertips down. Walk your hands around until you are in wide leg forward fold, stretching hamstrings and just breathing. See if you can pour the weight down into your feet. Little bend in both knees so they're not locked out. And just drop your face as close to the floor as you can. And just breathe here. Quite happy stretching your hamstrings, stretching the back of your legs. Shouldn't be the end of the world, because we're just kind of hanging out in this little stretch. Okay. Then lift your chest, lift your collarbone until your back goes kind of flat. Then see if you can reach your arms back. Drive your hips forwards until you are upright. Okay, then swivel this left foot to point out that way. Then see if you can drop this back heel back a little bit, so you can see how this foot is kind of pointing diagonally forwards a little bit. Bend this front knee and play around with these hips again. So can you rotate? What happens to your knees when you rotate these hips? Both knees do stuff that it's coming from your foot as well, from the structure, from the floor up. I want this pelvis, so iliac crest, these two bits of bone that stick out on the top of your hip, pointing towards the camera like this, and then you pull this knee back away from the camera until you feel this little stretch here. We've all got different amounts of mobility, so that's going to look different for everyone. This knee, try and keep it over the top of your ankle so the shin becomes upright. And you can bring your feet close together, further apart, you can decide. And then maybe muscles on your belly, muscles on your lower back, so if you grab hold of them, if you flip your rib cage up and you're in lumbar extension, you should be able to feel that your coccyx starts pointing out behind you. Can you tense the muscles in your bum? What happens here? Maybe you get a bit more tension here and reach those arms out. Straight line from fingertip to fingertip. Then look out over the top of this front hand See if you can just hold this for a second. What can you learn here? It's not just hanging out, you're not trying to just make this pose more efficient, you're trying to make your body adapt. Feel this bum muscle turning on and off a little bit today. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to see if I can make this bum muscle strong so it kind of knows about having this leg out here. If I pull my feet towards each other, they're not going anywhere, I'm going to feel this hamstring turn on. And I've got a bit more of a structure from this front leg then. See if you can reach those fingertips a little bit further, pull those shoulders down away from ears, and be able to breathe. And then, let's see if you can swivel. All the toes point this way now. We're looking for this stretch in this hip flexor, this thigh muscle, bend this front knee. You might need to shuffle those feet around so that you are on tightrope. Not tightrope, on train tracks. Think about the muscles of your belly as you reach up. And as you flip rib cage up, you should be able to feel a big stretch here, a little bit of extension in the back here. Pull those thumbs back. And try and pull feet towards each other again, see if you can feel this hip flexor, this thigh muscle on this back leg start joining in. Breathe. Reaching down. And swivel feet around to point towards the front of the camera again. Oh no, sorry, back to that, sorry. Clasp your hands together behind your back. Bring your belly down to your thigh and pick these hands up as high as you can, squeezing shoulder blades together. Holding, and coming down. Walk your hands around into wide leg forward fold, little bend in both knees, and stretch these hamstrings again. And just pour the weight down into your feet and think about the footprint. So maybe even grab hold of your feet and just feel what's pushing into the floor. Is the ball of the foot pushing? Is the outside edge of your foot pushing? Is there a little gap under your instep? Can you push the outside edge of your foot down? Just see. You can just reach those hips down. It's really good. I said hips down, head down, sorry. Pull the weight forwards into your toes. Maybe walk your hands through under your legs. In fact, I'm going to do something. I'm going to grab hold of my sofa between my legs and I'm going to use that to pull myself a little bit deeper into this stretch. That's it. And then coming down into seated, we'll do a little hip stuff. So for the bum muscles, piriformis, glute medius. So before we go into 90-90 where we lean forward like this, I'm going to get you to see if we can activate the stuff we're going to stretch. So it's going to come from this back leg. So if you just put your hand on the outside of your bum, if you're not sure about 90-90, by the way, it goes like this. If you pick up your right leg, put it behind you like this. Lean this left hand out to the side so your torso goes diagonal. See if you can tense the muscles of your belly and get hold of this bum muscle. Can you pick up your shin like this? So your shin is just floating off the floor and feel this bum muscle here. Can you then pick this knee up so your foot hangs underneath your knee? And then bring it across, point it forwards, pick this knee up again so this foot hangs under the knee and bring it back. And see if you can feel this bum muscle and then bring it back to this start point again. Hang the foot, bring it forwards, hang the foot again, bring this knee back, reach back and feel the outside of this hip perform. We're going to go straight into a stretch for this side of the hip straight after we've made it perform. I like having my hand on it because I can feel the muscles kind of work and I'm thinking about how I'm controlling them. There we go. Then bring yourself into 90-90 with this right leg forwards like this. So your shin comes across your chest. So your chest is facing forwards, this shin is parallel with the chest, and then drop your belly as low as you can, like this. Shoulders down away from ears. If you're not sure about shoulders away from ears, or if you don't really get controlling it very much, or you don't feel very connected, shrug them up loads and then just try and do the opposite and you'll probably find a little bit more control. And slow and soften your breathing. Breathe like we practiced at at the start of the class, where it is just breathing apparatus making this happen. Keep dropping down. See if you can drop any lower. Find more range. And like always, in all the stretches that we do, we hang out in them. We find this little bit of peace with the stretching. So it kind of feels new, feels like you're adapting, but you're kind of happy. And then we create force, we create load, we create some kind of pushing against those stretching muscles, against those lengthening fibres of skin and everything. Every bit of connective tissue starts joining in. So drive this shin through the floor now. You want to feel like the muscles we're stretching are starting to contract. So you can find more stretch, more push. More stretch, more push. Breathe. Keep holding. 3, push harder. 2, push harder. 1, and then drop and just soften. I want you to change the direction that you are pushing now, so you now start pulling this shin up towards your chest. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to bring my hands wide. I'm going to push my fingertips into the floor, push my back knee down into the floor. I'm trying to feel this hip flexor and hip crease here, trying to connect to owning the stretch that we've just done. So I'm as strong as I am flexible. Or I'm at least trying to be. Keep lifting. And 3, 2, 1, and then soften. Cool. Okay, so, and sitting up, and we can go in straight into work on this other hip now, because we're ready. So this right hand reaches out to the side, and we make this outside of this bum muscle do stuff. So if you put your hand on the outside of your bum, lift this knee, lift this shin, pick this up, so your foot hangs under your knee, still hanging under the knee as you bring it forwards, kick that leg out, bring it back, foot hangs under the knee, we start again. Up, bring it forwards. Don't forget, foot hangs, back to start point. The foot hangs, then kick it out. Foot hangs, and back to the start point. Work out what your breathing is doing as you're doing this. Like I say, I really like having my hand just on the outside of my hip, so I can feel what's going on. Move slow, because otherwise I will cheat. I will absolutely cheat. Let's go last one. And then bring yourself into 90-90 with this left leg forwards, bring it back. So, I'm just trying to hinge forwards. My chest is parallel with this front shin. I'm looking for the stretch, and that feels so different. I want to do a bit of work on that, on this stuff first. I can feel like it just hits differently. So tired. It's probably the best way to describe it. That's it. Keep hanging out. Relax your jaw. Try and breathe. Think about what your shoulders are doing. I want you to spend a good amount of time in this stretch. Good amount of time trying to learn what the stretch feels like. Just tune in. Thinking about it. I'm thinking about what my torso is doing, and I can change stuff. Not just stick with whatever shape you happen to land in a stretch. There's got to be some kind of exploration. That's it. Okay. Slowly start driving your shin and your knee down. You push hard. But making work happen now, so I want you to push this shin through the floor as you try and find more range, more stretchy stuff. Keep driving down, getting stronger and stronger. big effort. Keep pushing that shin down, big effort. Like 3, 2, 1. Sitting up, hands either side of this. Oh no, sorry, drop down. I keep changing my mind about stuff, I'm so sorry. Keep dropping down, and then just try and soften. Soften, find this end range, and then try and pull this shin up to your chest. Hands go wide, fingertips point out. Try and lift. Keep lifting. Nothing's happening, but I can feel it. You've got to look for it yourself as well. Try and feel this hip flexor do the thing. 3, 2, 1, and then just soften. See if you can find all the range in this. Perfect. And then sitting up and swing this leg round. Let's just have a little think about what we've been doing there. So we've been training those hips to be in external rotation. So external rotation is when this thigh turns to point out. See if you can sit in something called bear sit, like this. So your heels are pushed into the floor, your knees are pointing out, and you're trying to turn those hips out. Can you turn this hip in? Turn this hip in. So I'm trying to get, without moving my bum muscles, I'm trying to teach these hips how to pull into internal rotation. This is super tiring for me. And then we're going to go a bit further into this. See if you can drop knees across, pick back up. So your bum muscles can lift now. I'm trying to stay as upright as I can, heels on the floor. I find this very hard, but there's muscles in my belly that have to keep tight to be able to keep me upright. I'm kind of dropping my knee to touch this heel and back out, and then back into how we started. So I started sat up on the sofa. I'm going to finish sat on the floor though. It's always an option. I feel good to sit cross-legged. Just do a little bit of neck stuff. So if you pull your neck gently side to side, sit up really tall. And a little bit like what we did for the spine, if you can pull ear to shoulder, look up to the ceiling while the ear's pulling to the shoulder, look down at your shoulder as your ear pulls to shoulder. So you're staying in this little side bend in the neck. Move. You might be able to hear stuff moving in your neck. Just move slow. If you feel vulnerable, you are vulnerable. And come up to the side and rotate. Stuff long. He's trying to stay as upright as he can, showing this neck that it can rotate while you're in side bend. Then cross your arms over onto opposite knees so your shoulder blades spread and curl down and forwards, shoulders down away from ears. That's it. And coming up, palms together. Thumbs to forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. We did it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for functional conditioning yoga. Oh, I found that one quite hard. That was a fair bit of hard work actually, but it was good. I feel kind of strong. My balance was, I've loved the balance stuff that I did. I enjoyed that. It's been cool. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate it very much. If you're looking for my next mixology class, it's going to be February. It's going to be romantic. It's going to be Valentine's Day cocktails, showing a bit of love for everyone. So please come and keep your eye out, because I've not decided on the date yet for that, but it'll be around Valentine's Day on a Saturday night, making some delicious cocktails, some non-alcoholic, some alcoholic. Hopefully with simple ingredients that you can source from your local supermarket and markets and stuff like that. I might even have news of being out of lockdown by then as well. Who knows? Maybe we will. Alright. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. I'll see you very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.